Next question. What do I do if my ex doesn't give our kid their medicine? So, this particular question is all sorts of, there's lots of bear traps and landmines in this question. And so I'm going to tread very carefully. One of the things that I always, anytime I'm working with a family, that is either going through a divorce, about to go through a divorce, has been through a divorce, I always give the legal disclaimer that unless a psychiatrist says that they are a forensic psychiatrist, um, uh, that psychiatrist is probably not going to speak to the legal side of things. So, anytime that we're training as psychiatrists, we are taught all the clinical stuff. So, we know medicines, we know family dynamics, we know therapy, we know how to liaise and coordinate care. We know how to support caregivers, so on and so forth. But we don't know necessarily how to interact with the legal system. There is literally a fellowship in the world of psychiatry training called forensic psychiatry. And what they do in forensic psychiatry is they literally teach psychiatrists how to interact with the legal system. And so those doctors, when they're interacting with the family, they go into the interaction and they will give a disclaimer. They will literally say, as a forensic psychiatrist, I'm not a clinical psychiatrist. My job here is to determine goodness of fit or who the kiddo should work with or whatever. And I then give my findings to whoever paid me, either the lawyer or if they are instructed by the court, they will give the information to the court. And they do not do treatment stuff. So they're not recommending medicines. They're not following up on if the medicine worked or not, blah, blah, blah. And so that's what a forensic psychiatrist does. A clinical psychiatrist does the clinical stuff. And so it's not very common that those two things actually overlap. Well, undoubtedly, sometimes what happens when we're working with families where the parents are divorced is you will get a person who feels very strongly that the kiddo should be on medicine, and you'll get a person that feels very strongly that the kiddo should not be on medicine. After I do that first disclaimer of, hey, I'm not a forensic psychiatrist, so don't put me in that position to try to give some type of legal ruling, I then go to the next step, which is I can only do what the judge tells me I can do. And so every single divorce has a clause in it somewhere. And I've read lots of divorce decrees over my life in multiple states. And every single one has some type of clause about psychiatry. And the sophisticated ones have clauses about psychology, psychiatry, and medical, and they parse them out individually. So thank you for the lawyers that do that or whoever comes up with these templates. So anyway, in this case, I go back when I first see the patient, I always ask for that paperwork. Hey, I need to see the divorce decree so that then I know what the judge says I can do and what you can do on behalf of the kiddo. I read through that paperwork. Most times it's a 50-50 thing, and most times it's a 50-50 psychiatry thing, meaning the judge says, hey, mom, you have the independent right to make psychiatric medication decisions. And then it'll also say, Dad, you also have the independent right to make psychiatric medical decisions. And that's where it becomes a bit of a womp because that means that both parents have the exact same rights. I can't, me as the doctor, I am not able to overrule that because the judge has deemed it necessary. And so I have to follow whatever the judge said. And so if the judge says that both parents have that right, then what we do as most psychiatrists, and again, if this comes up, by all means, talk to your psychiatrist because every situation is nuanced and different. In the event that happens, we tend to go to the least offensive thing. So in other words, we don't want to expose a kid to a medicine unless we have the caregiver, the legal guardians of that kiddo are giving permission. And so if one parent has the equal right and that parent says absolutely not, then I let the other parent know, hey, the other parent said absolutely not. So we have to do the least restrictive or the least caustic or least offensive thing. And it may not feel like the right thing. And so that's where things get tough because that parent that's sitting in front of me going, oh my gosh, my kiddo can't focus and concentrate and they're failing in school. What do I do? We need to do something. And I go, I feel you and I wish I could help, but I can't because I cannot overrule the law. And instead I kick it back to the parents to say, hey, Here's what I'm seeing. Here's some of the recommendations that y'all need to think about. I would encourage you to take that to your lawyer, and y'all can talk about whatever legal options. But clinically, I can't do anything unless the paperwork says so. So that's not really answering the question, which is why I gave that disclaimer, because again, those little nuancy questions are really difficult to tease apart. But generally, psychiatrists are trained to manage that in your particular situation. So if that comes up, I keep in mind that, yes, we need to make sure all the divorce paperwork is accessible. Keep in mind that we are not forensic psychiatrists unless that psychiatrist says, I'm a forensic psychiatrist. And then number 3, we cannot overrule the judge. And then number 4, we have to do the least offensive thing for the kiddo, the least biologically offensive thing to the kiddo. So those are all the things that I just to keep in mind as you move forward. So see how long that takes? It's a lot, y'all. So